How to downward facing dog. I know this is a position that a lot of people find really uncomfortable, especially early on in their yoga practice. But with time, it can be a really beautiful posture. I used to dread doing rounds and rounds of sun salutations and having to hold down dog. Now I actually find it a really beautiful stretch. So I want to try and share some of the tips that I've learned over the years to make this more comfortable. So I find a really good way to get into down dog is from all fours. This helps to give us the proper alignment so that our feet and hands are the right distance apart. So come into your tabletop position, placing your hands under your shoulders, knees under the hips. And before we even begin to move, see if you can find that nice wide base with the hands. So really spreading the fingers as wide as you can, but not so that it's uncomfortable. You don't want to feel strain, but so that you've got a nice strong grip. And then really what we want to be doing is pressing the back of the knuckles into the mat. And if you find it difficult to press all 10 fingers in, really focus on getting the back of the index finger and the thumb pressing into the mat. We really want to avoid pressing into the back of the wrist, because this is then where it hurts the wrists and where it hurts the arms. So also before we get into this, it's always good to make sure that you've warmed up the wrists first. So either doing some wrist rolls or in your cat-cows, moving the wrists, or even some nice finger extensions. So I always find one of the best ways to come into down dog is from all fours. So this is going to help us get that perfect alignment. So then when you're running through your flows, so your vinyasas, you know how the dog should feel in your body. So often I see people and they're in a bit more of a plank pose. So we want to be making a nice triangle with our body. And the easiest way to get there is coming into all fours. So you want your hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, and really spread those fingers wide. Beginning to grip down through the mat, really pushing the back of the knuckles, the index finger, the thumb. If you can, the rest of the fingers into the mat, keeping the weight out the back of the wrists. And then tuck your toes, and then lift your hips towards the sky. You should find that this gives you the almost perfect shape. And then from here, we're aiming on working our heels towards the earth, but they don't actually need to touch. And especially if you haven't warmed up into this posture, if it's your first down dog of the day, maybe your hamstrings are tight, so maybe you need to keep a little bend in the knees. And then also whilst you're bending your knees, see if you can begin to really engage through the tummy, begin to pull the tummy up. You always find that creates a little bit more space, allowing me to push my ribs a little bit closer towards the thighs. And then even though we're pushing our hands and our feet into the earth, we're not dumping down, we're not collapsing. We want a feeling of lifting, of being light. So see if you can really lift the tailbone towards the sky. Maybe you imagine you've got a belt kind of around this area pulling you up. Finding that length, that lightness in the body. See if you can really lengthen between each vertebra. Roll the shoulders back, down and out, away from the ears. And then stay soft through the forearms. So I always really like to get the feeling I'm pushing my tops of my arms away whilst rotating the eye of the elbow forward. Keep gripping the mat with the fingers. See if you can relax your neck, relax your face, softening into the pose. And then find your breath. I always like to visualize breathing in through my feet, sending that energetic breath up to my hips. And breathing out my hips all the way down my spine to my fingertips. Beautiful. Take a few more breaths here. And then roll down to your knees. Come back to seated. How did you feel that? Keep practicing, keep engaging, getting that feeling of lifting, of being light. Eventually, I promise, it will feel nice.